My name is David Cutlip, and I am a professional tattoo artist. I have been tattooing since 1992. I grew up in a street shop, and there's different kinds of shops nowadays. A street shop is a shop that just does whatever. You walk in, it's got flash on the wall, and flash is all those little pictures that, you know, people can choose from. And basically we would, you know, do stuff off the wall. In the process, I learned how to draw better, and, you know, like my shop now is more of a custom shop. I had a lot of DMI guys, and DMI is a Baltimore or Maryland prison gang, stands for Dead Man Incorporated. And I would have a lot of those guys come in here, and I would see their tattoos, and it bothered me to see all these people with all these tattoos. And then I had this guy come in. He was a black gentleman, and he was in the Black Gorilla family, and he had B, G, and F, like in big old English letters on his face. And he's like, you know, can I get, you know, I just got out of prison, or I'd been out of prison for a little while. I have a good job, I'm getting married, I got a kid. I just want to move on with my life. I've done my time, you know, can you help me? Can you cover this up? I could really see how bad that this was bothering. I could see the hurt in his eyes, I really could. And I could tell that it was bothering him. And you know, I looked at my wife at the time, and I was like, I can help people, I can do this. You know, I have files this thick of people that have asked me, you know, to do cover-ups. And I have seen everything from swastikas to portraits of Hitler, to My Little Ponies with swastikas, to, like, you name it, I have seen it. And in fact, it has been quite overwhelming how much hate there is, you know, like how much these people truly hate other people. I've had people from all over the world contact me about getting cover-ups. I've had people all over the world contact me just to say thank you, what a great, you know, great thing I'm doing. And that right there is actually what really makes it all worth it. But I've also had people threaten me. I've also had people, you know, tell me that I'm stupid and you know, how do I know that they're, you know, done? And because one of the stipulations was you had to be done with your gang. You had to be done with your racist whatever. You just had to be finished. I myself have done, since I started, almost 80, and I do it free. You know, I usually do it like once a week. I treat them as if they're walk-in customers because they're people. And I want them to feel I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to know that they're safe in here and that I'm not gonna call the police on them. I'm not gonna call their gang, and I let them decide what they want. That way they get what they want and they're happy. And so far, everybody that I've done has been really happy with what they've gotten. I've had some that's that would have cost, you know, a couple $1,000s. I've had some that would have cost, you know, maybe $150. On average, tattoo artists make around between $100 and $150 an hour. So, like, if you base it off of that, like, on average, I'd say I do about 4 to 5 hours work per person. You know, I get on the internet every now and then, and I do see people you know, they're doing the same thing I'm doing or kind of copying, and at first it makes me mad because, like, you know, it was my idea and I started it, and then I realized that it's just more people helping. I've had people threaten to burn the shop down. I had one girl write a review saying, "Thank you for making it hard for me to navigate racist. You know, why don't I give the money to the Syrian refugees," or whatever. And it just kind of, that really bothered me, because, like, you go to help somebody, you know, and somebody's gonna hate you for it, you know, but that hasn't deterred me at all. Like, they can threaten to burn the shop down all they want to. They can threaten to do whatever they want to. Like, I'm still gonna do it. I'm gonna still continue to help people and until I can't tattoo anymore.
This place has been here for almost 60 years. We opened back in 1959. It's been a pillar of the community. It was one of the founding members of this shopping center when it opened. And we've been part of the area for the last 60 years.
When I first started bowling, it was only 15 cents a game. And I used to save 15 cents to run down the bowling alley.
So the balls and pins are different sizes, but all the other dimensions are the same, lanes are the same length. Pins are actually spaced the same distance apart. Just balls are smaller, pins are smaller, and the main difference is you get a third ball each turn instead of 2 balls, but scoring is exactly the same. But there has never been a perfect game at Duckman's. Highest game ever is 279.
This place has been in operation, I believe, since, I think this is its 60th year of operation, and it hasn't changed since day one back in 1958. I remember coming here back in the 90s when my dad bowled here, and when I came back about 3 years ago, it looked exactly the same. So I think just the overall history and the vintageness of it is a lot of what brings people here.
But the majority of the stuff in this bowling alley has been the same since we opened back in 1959. That's one of our, we've done some cosmetic changes, paint job, all that stuff, but it's still a nostalgic, old school bowling alley. It's still no automatic scoring. All the machines are 60 years old. It's just the way it is.
As a matter of fact, where I'm sitting right now used to be an arcade, and obviously now you can see that's a party room. And they've always had the snack bar over here, and they've always had 24 lanes here. So what's old is still new again.
We have a lot of regular customers. I get customers coming in here all the time that said, oh, I bowled there when I was a kid. And they bring their family back here.
If you want to bowl duck pins competitively in Montgomery County, this is the only place to go. And good on White Oak for making it as fun a place as it is, because it's a lot of fun being here.
We had a bowling alley in the family. The bowling alley shut down, so pretty much took our second home away from us. And White Oak opened their doors to make it our new second home. So it's really nice to have a place where you can go. My brother and I spent a lot of time in the bowling alley. We grew up, practically grew up here between here and Glenmont, as I said before. And it's been a crazy ride. It's been a very crazy ride.
My heart belongs here in White Oak because that's my home game. When I walk in those doors, I'm home.
My dad's been bowling ever since he was a kid, so he got us into it. And ever since I've been little, we've been bowling, and so it's really cool to bowl with like your family, and especially growing up.
A lot of people have their birthday parties here. I know a lot of friends that have met significant others here. I've met a lot of my personal friends here. It's just a melting pot for the community. But for the most part, we're just open to let people come in and enjoy it, and we have the leagues here a lot.
Well, the team I'm on tonight, I bowl with 3 women. And we're not that good. As a matter of fact, we've only won 1 game since the league started like 5 weeks ago. But we're here just mainly for a social event.
So the team that I have is constructed of my father, my brother's best childhood friend, and one of our good friends that my dad actually bowled with in previous years. So we're a very, very strong team, and it's nice to be able to compete at a nice level.
We have beginner leagues, which are called mixed leagues, and then you have the pro leagues, which is what the league we have bowling here tonight is. And that league is more designed for your really good bowlers, and it's a lot more competitive.
I've been #1 in the country for 6 consecutive years at one point. I've been #1 in the Washington area for 13 times. This year I'm not, though. That's why I told you to interview those other 2 girls, because they beat me. Youth. So I'm going to have to come back.
When I was 35, I was inducted in the Hall of Fame. And I've been a ranking bowler. I've been #1 in this country. And I've been #1 in the city 3 or 4 times.
They're all competitive, but in this game, you'll find a lot of people support each other. They will. It's kind of a different sport, I think, because you'll root for you'll root for the competition too. If we're in it together, we're just there.
My parents actually met in a league, bowling. So I didn't really have a choice in the matter. Like, I've been bowling my whole life. And a lot of the people that are here, especially the higher average bowlers, most of them grow up in the bowling alley. And I've been coming here since I was about 5 years old, bowling and all that. And I wouldn't know what I would do with myself if this place closed.
The old saying back in the day was anyone can bowl from age 2 to 92, and it's true. So come on out, have a good time, and this place is definitely a good place to do it.
Duck pin bowling is a rare find these days, and if you get a chance, enjoy it, because there's no telling how long it's going to last.
Bowl duck pins. It's a great sport. Even though I own a 10-pin center, so I'll retract that. Just go bowling. Whichever bowling, just go bowling.
Come on in.
I love this place. It's been here for a long time. I love all of our customers that come in here, and we hopefully keep it going for a long time. We got another 9 years on the lease, so we'll see.
The Southwest Arts Club and Blind Wino is a public art gallery and event venue located in the southwest waterfront neighborhood of Washington, D.C. Previously a Baptist church, the space was conceptualized in 2012, and in a few years, a team of artists revamped the building into a grand-scale piece of public art. Within the building, the first level is a gallery space and dance floor, while the second is an open venue space with a lounge area in the back room. The club can be seen from the surrounding neighborhoods and has become a focal point in the community. It promotes a tight-knit circle of artists and art lovers alike. The vast and active community of Washington, D.C. artists use their creations to promote beliefs and opinions shared by the general area's population. This mural, painted in front of an eco-friendly community garden, is a great representation of community values. The Washington, D.C. area is jam-packed with public art installations and murals. Art can be found around every street corner, on, above, and below ground. Every painter has a different creative process. Most begin with having a piece commissioned by an organization or individual. This process can be done privately or through artist consortiums like Murals DC. The group connects mural artists with prospective locations and the money and tools needed to create their art. From there on, the independent steps vary from artist to artist.
So usually the design, we kind of have a bunch of elements and you're kind of creating a collage almost with the elements, and it's all digital. So we create it on Photoshop. And then we usually project, but for this wall we ended up cutting everything into large stencils so that we could then put the stencil on the wall, trace it, and then go from there and paint it all in.
Usually the idea starts from, I might have a theme, or I might dream about a thing, or just living as a human being, as a black man in the city. And then I sketch it out on the canvas, and I treat my canvas like I texture it with like plaster. And then after that, I start layering paints to actually paint that particular image that I thought of.
There's a couple of different ways it can come about. So one of them is that someone has a vision, and not every artist is like this. A lot of artists will they get hired for the style that they do. I like doing a bunch of different styles. So sometimes it'll be a vision that they have, and I'll add my inspiration, and that's how it's created. Sometimes just an idea that I want to express. So it goes from mock-up on paper, sketches, to picking out colors and installation.
Once completed, each piece becomes special for the community's residents and for the artists themselves. A large aspect of a mural's significance is the people featured within. Outside of the infamous Ben's Chili Bowl, a mural depicts over a dozen historically and currently relevant and important Black celebrities, politicians, artists, and activists. But these people don't have to be superstars. In fact, most of the time, they're individuals who've made an impact within their own small neighborhood circle.
Kate and I were commissioned to paint that wall, and it was on the side of Soup Up, which is a brand new soup restaurant up on Kennedy Street. And so the process that we really like to kind of use, which is a little bit different than other mural artists, is we really like to work with the community when we can. We put out a call for people from the neighborhood to come and get photographed for the mural. So then we took a series of photographs of, youth and adults eating soup and, holding plants and things like that. So we gathered a series of photographs, and then from that, we create the design.
Schools, similar to restaurants or other public venues, often act as the core of a society. Educators will often commission artists for murals or 3D art to bring together the school, students, administrators, and parents alike. Lafayette Elementary School in Northwest D.C. is home to a handful of wonderful murals, one of which was painted by Rose Jaffe.
Well, Lafayette Elementary School was such a special job because I went to Lafayette Elementary School. So it was very much kind of a full circle situation. And that was 2 60-foot long walls in kind of a main corridor of the school. And it was such an important opportunity to bring something special to that space. And I think that what that can do to space is actually, it's something that's even hard to put into words. I think that the feedback that you get when painting something of that scale, especially in an environment like a school, people walk through and they say things like, "This just brings me joy," or I really feel just happiness when I'm walking through this corridor, or my kids come through and they're pointing out the colors or the animals that mean a lot to them. Think about if you're walking through an alley and or like a long corridor and there's just, beige walls 60 feet long. That's one thing and it's fine and you're just trying to get from point A to point B. But if you create an experience in that space and make it something exciting and fun, You know, that's a really wonderful thing that I think kids really drink in, and then parents and teachers really love too.
These children, the next generation of artists, art appreciators, and community leaders, require not only the art itself, but mentors and educators in the field.
Just how to see things beyond what everybody else sees, how to focus, and how to be motivated into your art. You know, these are things that I think this is effective in classroom and the way that I teach.
One thing that I was joking about with Kate was that, you know, you don't even really stand outside of your own house for 8 hours a day for 7 days a week. You know what I mean? I don't even know my own immediate community as much as I do the communities that I paint these murals in, you know?
Murals are cultural and societal gathering places, a physical piece of a community that has the ability to unite everyone in and around it. The consistent ebb and flow of Washington, D.C. forms a natural hub for everyone to create and appreciate art on a daily basis. Without the multitude of public art and artists, this wonderfully diverse urban area would surely lose a part of its core.
Instagram consumes us. Our interactions, surroundings, and everything in between can now be captured and shared with almost no limits. Posting a photo has taken huge importance, and now people will do almost anything to get more likes and followers. Social media is on the rise and is causing a shift within the art industry. As museums are reacting to this shift, Instagram feeds are filling up with pictures and videos of art and aesthetic environments. The recent rise of small pop-up art galleries and exhibits, such as the Museum of Ice Cream, Art Tech House, The Happy Place, 29 Rooms, Candytopia, and collaborations between pop culture and museums, are promoting a significant change in the dynamic of how audiences experience them. Social media has opened the door to a new wave of art, one that incorporates technology and the audience themselves. These styles and motifs have been integrated into the professional museum culture to grab in new demographics, specifically millennials and a younger population.
But I do think, just based on the works of art that we have on view today at the BMA, we are shifting toward more visually compelling, Instagrammable exhibitions.
In the history of art, the work of art is now a social object. In the future, I predict that the digitization of the work of art will completely change the physical object and dematerialize it and turn it into a social object, completely defined by the conversation happening around it rather than the experience itself.
Through social media campaigns and their use of interactive, technology-based exhibits, many of the most traditional museums are changing their approach. In the digital age, museums are forced to react to diverging audiences. Each museum has a different way of reaching these new audiences, but digital connections are a rising strategy. A museum is able to show their content online, on an Instagram account, and then push new viewers to come see the artwork. Museums have a history of being institutions catering to the elite class, historically a white or educated population. Now that virtually everyone is represented online, new visitors can be opened up to the world of art and museums to come and to experience it for themselves.
And so social media, in a way, has started to tear that down a little bit and start democratizing it and making it more accessible. So someone goes in and takes a picture and they share it with all their friends. Now all their friends are seeing this work that they may not have seen before because they couldn't go to the museum.
Photography and social media has been attributed as a clear asset for museums' viewership, as more people are aware of the popular art exhibits around them. However, this additionally highlights growing concerns over copyright and an audience's interaction with the art.
So there are some artists who hate it and they don't want people taking pictures of their stuff, and they want only curators to be interpreting their work, and they don't want their stuff out They don't want anyone to have access to it. And then there's other artists, many of whom are younger and who are like working now today, who love it. And they are actually using social media to promote their work, and they're trying to get it out there as much as they can.
The rise of pop-up museums and temporary experience-based exhibits has increased in popularity as for-profit businesses want to capitalize off of the changing art scene.
Social media brings in numbers, and ultimately we want people to see the works of art, and if that gets them in the door, I think it's a good thing. But we will always have the paintings and sculptures and, you know, the traditional works of art, more formal, fine works of art that people traditionally associate with museums.
Those looking for interesting backgrounds for their Instagram pages flock to such locations and popular museums. Yet the prevalence of photography within museums and their spin-offs has risen doubt within the art community as to whether audiences are actually understanding the art.
And I think that this is a really interesting time in art because people are kind of trying to define what these experiences are and what they mean to people and whether that will be a lasting experience too.
They're bringing in money. They have a bottom line that they need to make, and the reason people come is to take selfies, and so everything is organized around that.
So in the pre-digital photography era, the message was, this is what I'm seeing, I have seen. And today the message is, I was there. I came, I saw, and I selfied.
Through the screen of a phone, Instagram and other forms of social media can portray a person's trip to a museum as aesthetically pleasing and fun. Yet for those who choose to visit art galleries for the photos, the art community is split. Many skeptics question that audiences are too consumed by photo ops to make any connection to the art at all, while those in favor argue that photography furthers a person's interaction with the art.
But the Kusama show, which came through the Hirshhorn a couple of years ago and is now traveling around the country, I mean, that is one of the biggest museum exhibitions in the world right now. You're standing in line for 15 minutes and then you go into the room and the door opens and closes behind you, and usually you get about 10 seconds because they really need to get people in and out of there. And so you're staring into this like endless horizon of mirrors and dots and lights, and it's like this very meditative and peaceful moment. And then the door opens and you have to get out of there. And like, if you want to take a photo of yourself in there, which many people want to do, you know, you have 10 seconds to like get that photo. And you know, you'll spend your whole 10 seconds getting the photo and then you won't actually really experience it.
Many new visitors of the museums are content with just getting their photos, rather than fully comprehending the context and meaning behind the art. This complacency is something the artists themselves must consider when creating their art.
There are definitely trends. I see, you know, people obviously being kind of influenced by others, and then that style is kind of transferred to other artists. But then once you see it everywhere, and once you see enough people doing the same style of art, you start to realize like, oh, it's not really unique anymore. And so it kind of devalues it.
As seen through museums, Instagram has allowed artists to reach a wider audience and convey their message further. However, by sharing their art online, artists take major risks. They can be subject to non-credited artwork or blatant plagiarism.
Social media has definitely changed my business model. But really, it's, I think, my social media that keeps people current, and it's my way of reaching out to people to let them know that I have something new.
We know for certain the art industry is changing, but our use of technology can preserve the valued traditional and historical significance of art, or take us in the direction of a more inclusive, less evident meaning of art. Moving forward, artists, audiences, and museums must discuss how such implications are a result of the changing times and their own willingness to accept or refute these changes and focus on the bigger picture.
Books have always been an integral part to the way we communicate and learn, but the way we're accessing books is increasingly becoming more and more digitized thanks to online retailers. According to Author Earnings, online book sales amounted to $3.1 billion in the last 3 quarters of 2017. Right now, 1 out of every 2 books sold in the US is bought from Amazon. At the same time, however, indie bookstore sales have risen 5% since 2017. The American Bookseller Association has had a 49.6% increase in membership over the past 9 years, with 1,835 members operating 2,470 locations nationwide. Even as we buy more and read more online, brick-and-mortar bookstores and the unique community they build remain a stable presence in our digital world.
My name is Soumya Gowda, and I'm a bookseller at Capitol Hill Books. It started with a previous owner than the one that we have now in 1990, I believe. He lived here, and he actually died here. He lived upstairs, and then he died in what is now the mystery room. But I think that was just his living room at the time. And he was friends with Jim Toole, Admiral Jim Toole, who took it over from him. And then very recently, Jim sold it to 4 guys that sort of grew up under him.
I am Kim Stipek, married to Alan Stipek. We own Second Story Books. Alan incorporated the business in 1974. I met Alan in '85, and we worked together running the business and doing appraisals.
I'm Lance Salins. I'm the Director of Business Operations for Friends of the Library in Montgomery County. It was started in 1982 by just a group of citizens in Montgomery County, incorporated in 1983. And our purpose, our mission is to support, strengthen, champion Montgomery County Public Libraries. There are 21 branches throughout the county. The county has over 1 million people. Those are all the people that we're serving, serving their learning needs and interests. People are discovering us every day. We have very devoted customer base, and it's growing. We've been in this location for this year, it'll be 15 years, and people are discovering us all the time. So in this bookstore, our Rockville location, everything is donated from the public. We have an incredibly generous community that we're surrounded by, and they come in every day and donate thousands of books, and we sell thousands of books to the community as well.
We go to auctions, estate sales, we get donations, we buy books from people in the neighborhood. Those are generally how we get books. We definitely look for particular things, the tastes of the neighborhood, what we like personally, what the nation on a larger scale looks to read and purchase. So we definitely are very thoughtful about the books that we take. I think that every neighborhood has a character, and Eastern Market and Capitol Hill definitely has avid readers who have specific tastes. Like you'll see that our philosophy section is quite diverse, and I think that's very telling of a neighborhood because people bring in those books, people definitely buy those books regularly.
So we carry out of print books that you can't find anymore in a new bookstore. That's what we specialize in. I think a lot of people that collect really old books connect to the history that the book represents. To think that someone from a totally different century handled it and what their life might have been like and how they might have read it.
They really tell their own stories. You know, it gets very meta. It's a story within a story. You can look at a book. Sometimes people have made little marginalia. They'll make little notes for you, or they'll leave all sorts of impromptu bookmarks you'll find in there, love letters, notes from relatives.
I also see a lot of people coming here because they really love that we're quite analog. I think people like the feel of books in their hands, and that's something that changes over time, but I think remains consistent in a nostalgic part of our hearts.
There's no easier way than to go to a bookstore and actually see the humans. Even if you don't strike up a conversation with someone, if you see someone else holding a book or browsing through a book that you like, knowing that someone's out there, knowing the potential of that, talking to a bookstore clerk and getting a recommendation, just being surrounded by books, the smell of books, the feel of books, and certainly different type of books, especially children's books with the illustrations and antiquarian books. There's something that's not reproducible on a screen like that.
Because it hits a part of people, at least, I don't know if it'll always be this way, but every little kid has held a book before. And when you come to a place like this and you see so many of them, I think you get to go back to that time. So I think it still has a place in every grown-up's heart.
Art, the expression of human creativity and experience.
I think the arts have a great power and platform to be able to shine the light on both the darkness and then also, the goodness and where we're trying to go.
But I think of it in terms of the significance that's all around us. And so everything that's around us is literally art in some way.
Artistic expression has been evolving alongside humans since the beginning. Its role in our lives is ever-changing. But what role does it play in political discourse? The Wall of Respect in Chicago, painted in 1971, is associated with the Black Power movement and is a source of inspiration and empowerment for Black communities in Chicago and across the country. During the AIDS crisis, art was central to advocacy and destigmatizing the illness, with projects like the AIDS Memorial Quilt and epic works of art like Angels in America by Tony Kushner. In addition to the AIDS crisis, which affected predominantly gay and bisexual men, queer people in art have been in tandem for years, as a form of identity expression in the face of persecution, and can be seen through drag and other forms of gender performance. Art has played a significant role in much more recent political protests, such as the Women's March, gun control protests, environmental rallies, protests for racial justice, and more. Communities like the sanctuaries in Washington, D.C. are working to provide a space and the resources for artists to engage in artistic activism and protest.
Sanctuaries was started in 2013. It was started by Reverend Eric Martinez-Resley, and he came into the city and saw a need for a community of difference coming together to do social justice work in the city. The sanctuaries will find us opportunities. So different campaigns will reach out to the sanctuaries and ask for artists. And so I've been able to perform pretty regularly, actually. And not just perform, but walk alongside communities and, contribute art to the larger social justice world.
I think the sanctuaries gave me that space to find my identity as an artist. And it helped me, the space that they created here helped me feel safe enough to explore what it meant for me to be an artist.
In addition to providing artists with space and community, the sanctuaries offer trainings for art-based activism and organizing. Recently, the sanctuaries have faced gentrification and the displacement that many communities of color experience.
It's purposeful for us to, in contention with the gentrification that's going on, continue to grow with the spaces that we are going to be in as well as affect, because we're trying to organize communities so that they can feel empowered to have a sense of community that's based in their autonomy and not just what people make up as rules for them.
Especially for a DC native, it's really hard. And it's especially hard for artists as well, because it's important for us to have spaces to create. But I think for DC natives, it's kind of like we want to stay here so bad. Like, we want to be present and we want to continue to have Black people present in our city. But it's just hard to make that happen.
The sanctuaries are just one example of how communities build around artistic activism. The Artistic Freedom Initiative is an organization based in New York City that focuses on providing legal aid to artists facing persecution.
AFI is led by immigration and human rights attorneys who provide pro bono immigration representation and resettlement assistance to at-risk artists. A lot of these artists are speaking out against the government, right? They're the government in their country of origin, so this is often what's the most incendiary. Some of them their work is touching on, LGBTQ, gender sort of non-conforming, non-binary kind of issues. It doesn't really matter what country they're in. Most of these artists who are in exile or who have been displaced still feel very connected to the communities that they left behind in their home countries or the struggles of their people. That it's not something that you leave the country and then you leave all of that behind with it.
The Artistic Freedom Initiative has built a community of artists through projects like their residency programs and the Revolutions and Movements exhibit at DuPont Underground in Washington, D.C. Art activism will continue to occupy artistic spaces and the American psyche, and as more people find ways to express their voice, the more beautiful the world will become.
This is the time, especially, socially and politically, to find yourself, to do the deep introspection, to, see what areas you need to heal and grow so that you can be the best you can, so that whether you're providing for a family, whether you're trying to be a good brother or sister, or just be a good friend to somebody, that you're a beacon for them as well as, a marker for what's possible.